September started off with a bum paramotor, so I worked on videography a little while some new old friends of mine worked on a fabrication solution to my collapsing cage issue, which they hooked up famously. Current welders with a K takes the time to do it right, I'm telling you. I came in with an idea, they did up some measurements, fleshed it out. I mean, the whole thing, it was awesome. Worked ever since, and it gave me just enough time to do my first flights, get my confidence back up,
So awesome!
brush up on the new launch characteristics of my trike. It was fun seeing how forgiving the quicker inflations were when I wasn't worried about burying the brakes at the 60-degree mark and pulling my cage back into my prop. Man, it was fun. It was super fun having a reliable enough paramotor that when the conditions were perfect for getting a cloud flight in, I could. It's awesome now. By the way, the scientific name for the shadow of my paramotor on a cloud is called a Brocken specter, and the ringed light around the shadow is called a glory. They're beautiful. Anyway, anyone that's ever had a rig that was constantly keeping you grounded will understand why I resurrected these clips for a recap of how awesome it is to be able to solve that problem. Not only that, at the beginning of September, I was in the dumps, and by the end of it, after Pace Fly-In, I can honestly say I've gotten more flights in that month than ever before. It was 34, and I was super proud of it. I know I'm a minute and a half into this video and I haven't even shown any Pace Fly-In stuff, but I just didn't want to waste all this footage from that month. It was a really good month for flying. Alright, forget about all that noise. I'm really wanting to tell you all about PPG Golf. Anthony Vella called it paracaching, and I like that name a whole lot better. I hope he doesn't care if I borrow it from Pace next year, but this past year we did something very similar, and I'd love to tell you all about it. So, as I said in my last video, my friend Josh asked if he could invite a few extra people to our little flying gathering, and I said it wasn't a problem. All I needed to do was find a bigger place, so I looked for a couple of new places to fly. And I found Pace Airfield, big enough to house easily 100 pilots anytime we want. But in that search, I found 11 flyable and permitted sites right around my area, all of which very anxious to see us come flying over or land. It's awesome. So I started trying to think of a way to use all those sites. You gotta love that canned music and Final Cut. It's useful. Anyways, I went out and vetted each one. Some were gonna be mowed by the owner before the event. Some of them didn't need mowing at all, and they were just gonna be fine. The others, I think there was 5 of them, I promised to mow with my own little mower as long as they bush hogged them, and it worked out. See, in all of my PPG experience, ending up way out in the middle of nowhere by flying there has been the best part. I feel like Trent Palmer every time I find a new incognito LZ. A few times it's been on purpose, but a lot of times it's been through necessity that I find these little places. I always thought if I was going to hold a fly-in, I'd want to find a way to entice pilots to put themselves through the same experience of dropping their wing in an unfamiliar location, chilling for a sec, taking in the sights, then bringing it back up and flying away. So at each location, I left a box. Inside the box was a pen and a stack of Post-it notes. Then I got my business partners to agree to giving away a year's supply of Charlie soap to the winners of a competition, and I was off. In order to incorporate all skill levels and try to include everyone, I set up different criteria for each skill set. Nothing official, all honor system stuff regarding the experience levels, but I try to do my best. So, beginners were to fly over as many designated sites as possible, showing proof through GPS tracking. Intermediate pilots were to foot drag as many sites as possible, and wackos were supposed to land and sign a Post-it note at as many designated LZs as they could during the 3-day tournament. Everyone was given the same coordinates of each site, complete with a physical description and a rating of difficulty per site, as was determined by me. And some of these sites I'd landed at a lot. Some of them I'd landed at once or twice. Some of them I knew were fine, but I'd never attempted. And some I just wished one day to get good enough to partake of, because they're as picturesque as they are challenging. At first, most of the pilots' intentions to take part was iffy at best. But I think I took a lot of people just a bit out of their comfort zone enough to make it a fun weekend. The first day people started showing up, no one really branched away from the site. They stayed close, they went over the first ridge, but it wasn't much. The next morning, people were going as far north as Martinsville to see the Speedway, but no one really went to my 11 designated destinations that were all south of the field, just over the border into North Carolina. After lunch, and people were able to digest the idea a bit, the afternoon flight started. A couple of guys and I took off, headed towards Old NC. I was on the Hadron and followed by a few brave souls. It's intimidating, I'm sure, because there's a lot of trees, and it's a commitment of no less than 30 minutes flying just to get there and back, but it's doable and well worth it. We passed the site that they played at earlier that day and the day before. We went down 220. Once you get to 220, it's basically a 10-minute flight down 220 south, and then after about 10 minutes you start your descent towards the closest LZ to Pace Airfield. This LZ was called Webster's Hayfield, and it was not very challenging, but a lot of people thought that it looked pretty tight. It is tight until you take off there one time and realize that you have plenty of room. Here you can see one of my new friends using a little bit more aggressive descent technique than I was using. Once I actually got down to the first site, I took the first low pass just to point it out. Had a super fun time dragging my wheels, actually. And I sat back to see what would happen. And it was pretty cool. Two guys foot dragged, or at least one of them foot dragged and the other one did a super low pass. I was really proud of them, actually. Just after this, we decided to hit up Rouse's Field, and Rouse's Hayfield, as it was listed on the event description, is my field. It's the field that I fly from if I ever want to go out for a flight. And Charlie, my father, is familiar with that field, so he decided that he would be happy to video anybody that was going to touch and go on that field or come close. So he was out in the field. He was waiting for everybody, and if you listen closely, you can hear somebody yelling at him to get off of the field.
I'll get over.
He laughed and just got off the field as quickly as he could. Now, this is one of the most irreverent of contestants in the competition. He actually came down and kicked the box. It was awesome. So by the end of the second day, we had two contestants. One had foot dragged 2 sites and one had flown over 2 sites. Didn't know how to weight any of that, but anyways, I was taking note. I didn't really compete myself in any of this. I did foot drag a site and I did land out one time, though it was not on purpose. That's for my next video, but I didn't participate. When we got back to the field, it was getting late, so I just filmed one last long final done by Josh and then whipped around the field real quick and then put it down for the evening. And like that, day 2 of Pace was done. Thanks for watching the last installment of Pace, the reveal of who won PPG Golf, which really never got scored like golf, so I don't know why I keep calling it golf. We'll probably go with paracashing next time. Anyways, the reveal of the winner of the year's supply, Charlie Soap, is going to be in the next video. So thanks for watching and thanks for waiting. Anyways, all right, later.
Johnny!